All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN recently did a piece where he talked about different general manager candidates for the New York Jets. Now, obviously, Joe Douglas has been let go. We've had the mega report come out from The Athletic talking about Joe Douglas's tenure with the New York Jets, specifically honing in on like the last year and a half, Woody Johnson, how he's played a part in that. And of course, there's different opinions on that report. But either way, I would literally say right now it's the biggest talking point. It's the biggest storyline in the National Football League right now. And whether you believe the report or you don't believe the report, or it's a combination of both, because that could also be true. Either way, it is still being. I mean, it's on every sports talk show. Everyone has their individual takes. It is a massive, massive storyline this week, right? And so, where are the Jets right now? 3-8. There's questions all over the place, but one thing is clear. The New York Jets have got to hire a new general manager. They have got to hire a new head coach. And again, going back to this Fowler article, he talked about, a bunch of different names and, the names that we've all heard, the Ray Agnews, the Mike Borgonzis. But there's two names that really stand out, and I want to do a second video on that second candidate, but I wanted to focus in on Ryan Grigson here. Okay, now this is someone who does not have the best reputation right now in regards to his past experience as a general manager with the Indianapolis Colts, despite the records. If we take a look at what the Colts records were under Ryan Grigson, it was pretty good. 11-5 year one in 2012, 11-5 in 2013, 11-5 in 2014, 8-8 in 2015, 8-8 in 2016, and then he was let go. That's a lot of wins, but I remember watching the Colts during that era, and I can only speak for myself, but I remember, yes, the Colts winning games, yes, the Colts were competing, yes, the Colts were making the playoffs. They were, they were a force in the AFC, but it always felt like luck was carrying the Colts, and it never felt like Indy was surrounding Luck with the talent or putting him in a position to have success. It always felt like Luck was up here and the Colts were down here, and it was always the Colts were trying to catch up, and Luck was like forced to play hero ball and really had to be the rock of the franchise. And ultimately Grigson was let go. I mean, they're like, still, if you ask, again, I can only speak for myself, but in the Colts fans that I've talked to throughout the years, not one person, not one Colts fan that I talked to said that they were mad when Grigson was let go. Yes, he did draft Andrew Luck, but let's be honest, anyone would have that season. The team obviously moved on to Chris Ballard, and it's that real build through the draft approach. But since the Indianapolis Colts firing, Grigson has bounced around Cleveland, Philadelphia, back to Cleveland, and he's been with the Minnesota Vikings. And obviously the Minnesota Vikings have been one of the major stories this season, right? Kevin O'Connell, Adolfo Mensa. It really feels Brian Flores as defensive coordinator, right? It feels as though the Minnesota Vikings have a lot of things figured out. And right now, Ryan Grigson's role within the Vikings is pretty high up within the front office. He's the senior vice president of player personnel. That's a pretty big time role within an organization. That's kind of like the right hand man to the general manager from a football scouting perspective. So a lot of Jets fans have been, this is kind of how it all relates to the Joe Douglas, Woody Johnson article that everyone's talking about. The Jets right now, well, the Jets haven't been viewed, again, optic perspective here, as a well-ran organization. It is not on par with the Eagles, Steelers, Ravens, Lions, Packers, Bills. It's not up to that level. The Jets are not on par with those teams as far as just overall, managerial structures and skill sets are concerned. So it's fair to assume, all right, who's going to want to come here? Which of, are these top candidates even going to be interested in the New York Jets? And if you say the answer is no, you're completely justified in saying that. Is Ben Johnson going to be waiting outside of One Jets Drive for an interview? The answer's no, probably not. And so here we are, right? The New York Jets are in this weird spot where if there is that understanding amongst the NFL that the Jets this is not a top job. This is not necessarily a place that people are going to be flocking to. And it kind of feels like maybe the Jets have to dip their toe into the waters of, and I'm talking both GM and head coach here, someone who's had an opportunity before, but it didn't necessarily work out for whatever reason. And now they get a second crack at it, because let's be honest, it's very rare that someone gets 5 different head coaching opportunities, 5 different, chances in an NFL career to be a general manager. It just doesn't work like that. These jobs are few and far between. Head coaching openings, obviously a lot more common than general manager openings. Also, general managers typically get longer contracts. So, I think obviously the Jets have got to hire someone here. And my question, could you actually see the New York Jets hiring ex-Colts GM Ryan Grigson as their next general manager? I'll say this, Grigson, again, just from what I've seen from the Indianapolis Colts during his time there, it seemed like there was a big push to sign and draft players that were more so physically dominant, whether that's speed, size, how someone moves, the more athletic type. Think of like how Seattle is kind of built throughout the years, right? We're going to focus on the athletes and the measurables, if you will. It seemed like Indianapolis kind of went down that direction over and over and over again, which isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just, one deciding factor. Other teams can value other things. It really just all depends on, who's calling the shots and what the scouting department looks like. I think you can make an argument, though. Grigson would be coming over from Minnesota. You can make an argument, hey, if him and Brian Flores are close, could the Jets bring in Flores as head coach? And I think Brian Flores has done an absolutely tremendous job with the Vikings this season. He, to me at least, checks a lot of different boxes that the Jets would need as far as setting a standard, bringing accountability, bringing leadership. He has such a long coaching resume. He spent 10 years with the New England Patriots working his way up. Obviously 3 seasons with the Miami Dolphins as head coach, where his career record was 24-25. So he knows the AFC East pretty well. I'm going to do a whole separate video on Brian Flores. So I don't want to kind of dive into that too much, but could you see that potential pairing, right? A Grigson plus a Flores running the show for the New York Jets. So could you actually see something like this happening where, again, Grigson gets the GM job here? For me personally, Ryan Grigson is not in my top candidate list of general managers. I did a video on it. I'll leave it linked down below in the description box if you guys want to check it out. But again, it's not necessarily what I want. What's important is the reality that we're in. And, of course, there's still tons of questions. We're still in the middle of the regular season. How does the season play out? When does Woody Johnson leave and go overseas? How much of a role is Chris Johnson going to have in this whole thing? Could the Jets hire a director of football operations? All of these different moving parts. But, I just wanted to talk. It's kind of like a two-part little video series. I wanted to, again, highlight these 2 names. One is Ryan Grigson. The next is going to be covered in the next video here. So we'll see how it plays out here. But again, and by the way, if you know any Colts fans, right? If you have, your friends or anybody that has watched the Indianapolis Colts for quite some time, just ask them, hey man, what were your thoughts on Grigson when he was the general manager of the Colts? And if you get an answer, let me know down below in the comment section, because I'm interested, because again, for me, every single fan I've talked to, and granted I didn't talk to 500 fans, but it was a lot. I'd probably say like 8 or 9 throughout the years. None of them had positive things to say. But again, this is the position that the Jets are in. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. And as always, go Jets.